A bunch of the islanders have been doing several interviews post the villa. This one specifically was so interesting to me, and I felt like I needed to come and talk to you about it to share my thoughts with you. And if you don't know, you haven't heard it, you haven't seen it, also share some information on this podcast. Hey y'all, welcome back to the channel. It's your girl Kay. Today I'm going to be going into my segment called The Update Nobody Asked For But Needs, and we're going to be talking about this interview with Huda on Call Me Daddy podcast. Before we get into it, please go ahead and do all of the things, like the video, subscribe to the channel, because I'm also going to be bringing you more updates. So let's talk about this interview. First things first, I feel like the host, I think her name is Alex Cooper, she tried to humanize Huda. She had her talk about her upbringing, trauma that she experienced in her childhood, and she went into her co-parenting relationship with her daughter's father. For me, it was clear as day that Huda had, in some shape or form, witnessed abuse. Why do I say that? So there's something called the other victim. Hear me and hear me very well. I am in no means calling Huda a victim. When I say the other victim, I'm referring to domestic violence or intimate partner violence. And that's because the children in the home, when they witness abuse happening, this is called the other victim. She did share that she saw this happening between her parents, and there's also something called learned behavior. Many times when children witness abuse in their childhood, they learn those behaviors. It could either be from the abuser or the victim. Based on the way that they live life, it would determine who they learn the behavior from. And most times it's that of the abuser. And that's how the cycle continues. I am able to share this information with you because I did practice social work, specifically intimate partner violence. And so this is why I'm touching on this. This is very important. Huda was very explicit in things that she went through. And I'm not taking that away from her by any means, but for me, I just feel like this wasn't the forum for her to share those things. This is my unpopular opinion. I'm certain many of the other islanders also went through some things. In fact, we did see Ace and Chelly specifically be very vocal about their rough upbringings. They didn't go into explicit details about it, or we didn't get to see it. So I see what the host was trying to do, because we know Huda got so much backlash. And while I appreciate her vulnerability and sharing what her upbringing was, I didn't think this was the time or place to be so explicit about things that she shared about her family. What you went through in your childhood in no shape or form excuses your behavior by any means. So, how did Huda join the show? She said she was a fan of the show. It was always her dream. And so she joined. Most of the islanders, we've heard them say that they were DM'd, not Huda. She applied manually. Why is that important to note? So many times during this interview, when she was called out, for instance, about the way she spoke about Amaya, she said, "Oh, I didn't know that's what bombshells were coming in to do. I thought Amaya had watched the show and saw me and Jeremiah having this strong connection and still pursue him just to piss me off." This girl lies a lot. And this proves this point exactly. How do you in one breath say you watched the show before, you've been a fan, you've always wanted to be on the show, and then in the other breath say, "Oh, I didn't know this is what bombshells came in to do. They had to tell me that this is how things happen on the show." Let's keep that in mind. Now, there were many times when I felt like the host was trying to call Huda out and to point out her behavior. Then afterwards, for me, it kind of felt like she started to agree with her and her excuses. And I don't know if it was a tactic to allow Huda to dig for herself, as in letting her show that she is an emotionally unstable person, just as she portrayed on the show. And for me, I just felt like she got so comfortable with this stranger. She was like, "Bitch," and speaking to her as if she's speaking to her friend. And I felt like that was so unprofessional. So she spoke a lot about Jeremiah. Huda straight up said that Jeremiah love bombed her. In her mind, she said the way he looked at her, him kissing Yulisa on the cheek on day one. The way she hugged him and he pulled back showed that he was interested in her. Plus, she found him to be very attractive, and all of that was confirmation to her that they had something strong from day one. She said that her view of love has always been a fairy tale like, and so that's what she thought she was getting with Jeremiah. And I'm just like, girl, you're a grown woman. Like, what, a fairy tale? Really? She said immediately people were pointing out that it's a red flag, and she started to question herself, asking if Jeremiah was love bombing her. But she was so used to being love bombed because the first 24 hours they were very lovey dovey. She said the relationship was very physical and that she had decided to wait to tell him about her daughter because usually people don't see her as a person, as a mom. So the host said, people thought you were setting him up to fail and being manipulative. Were you? She didn't say no. She said not necessarily. But because she knew he really liked her based on their conversations, she decided then to tell him. Now let's remember there was a conversation between Huda and Jeremiah in Soul Ties when he was asking her why she had a 2-bedroom apartment, and she shut down that conversation, which was the right opportunity. It was actually the opening conversation for her to tell him about her daughter, but she didn't in that moment. She said once she told Jeremiah, his response was that he was more attracted to her, but she didn't really believe him. Now here's where the manipulation tactic comes in. She tells him, oh, if you don't want to be with me because of that, just let me know because I really like you. So you're telling him you're free to leave, but I really like you. Please stay. You could leave, but please stay. Isn't that what she did with Crystal? Let's move on. So the host said to her, you spoke about how you like when guys are obsessed with you. How do you tell the difference between when that is healthy and then when that can lead to being problematic? She didn't quite answer that question, but she did clarify what obsession means to her. She said it's when he hugs her, shows physical affection, and does thoughtful things for her. Huda also said that Jeremiah would be intimidated by any guys who came in, and he kind of had a fear of her being taken from him, so he would then befriend the guys to make sure that no one was interested in her like that. Peppy was never really interested in Huda, and she did make reference to him befriending Peppy, so I don't know if that actually really did happen, but this is what Huda said. The host tells her, why were you being so territorial once the bombshells came along? She said she was scared because everyone was doubting them. Huda, let's be so for real. You lying. You didn't want anyone touching Jeremiah. And even when you were actively participating in all of those kissing challenges, once a girl kissed Jeremiah, you were calling her a bitch. So please stop. The host even had to tell her, listen girl, like you're saying that, but even if Maya saw the episodes, right? Even if she saw that, this is her job as a bombshell to come in to do what she has to do. And she's like, yeah, I had to learn. Why are you lying, girl? Why are you lying? Remember, again, she said she was a fan of the show. So that just didn't make sense. Now, she's saying that she felt like a lot of people didn't want she and Jeremiah to be together. She said she doesn't know why. And the host kept on asking her why. There has to be a reason. And she's like, I don't know. Girl, they didn't want y'all together because y'all were toxic as hell. Y'all were exhausting, and it was mainly you spazzing, stomping around, screaming, yelling, and all of that for days. Even when we saw Jeremiah trying to have a civil conversation with Huda, she was still calling him a pussy and every kind of name in the book. The host asked her, can you confirm? Was there any sexual tension between you and Ace? She said, yeah, at one point I liked him. I definitely did. Like there was a point where I definitely found him attractive. I thought he was really cute. I did not kiss him for nothing. Let's talk about that. Remember when Andreina came over, this was after the heart rate challenge, and said to Chelly and the other girls, Huda doesn't understand why you're upset. Andreina also said, Listen, these challenges are for you to go extra hard on the person you like. Who did Huda go extra hard on? Ace. And she just said that she liked Ace. So all of y'all who were saying Chelly was overreacting, apologize to Chelly immediately. In fact, remember Huda felt so accomplished that she was able to bring Ace's heart rate up the most. Y'all remember that moment? And the host asked her, girl, please don't lie to me. Tell me, did you do too much? Did you sit on his face? Because this is what everyone was speculating based on what we saw. She said she did not do it. She was talking on his stomach area. We did see Clark and Taylor have an interview. They confirmed it, and Dorena also confirmed that Huda did do that. So I'm hoping that we get to see the rest of that clip at the reunion, because at this point we do not know what really happened until we hear from Ace himself. When she was asked about she and Jeremiah being intimate, she said, oh, once we did the do, he changed. Again, the only person we saw getting angry and territorial was you. The minute you gave up some coochie, you were demanding him to do things for you that you saw Ace doing for Chelly. The man was making you breakfast and you were still complaining. You were speaking down on him many times. So then the host tells her, though, Huda, your feelings are valid, but you went too far a lot of times. And here's how she responds. Is this right? No, but I've never been in an environment like that. And in terms of crash out, we all crash out. Mine was just recorded on national television. And I'm just like, girl, what? Really? So this is how you justify your behavior. Oh, we've all done it before. And y'all said that she was taking accountability in this interview. Is the accountability in the room with us? Please, I want to know. She said this happened because Jeremiah was doing a lot with other people, like with Iris. He was playing ping pong with Iris, but never did that with him. And he knew that this is something she wanted to do. He wasn't doing anything that she asked him to do. Again, it was always you wanting him to do what you want him to do. There was one other thing I wanted to point out in the interview. She talked about the moment America voted to have Iris couple up with Jeremiah. She said she had a full-blown panic attack and Jeremiah never checked on her when she had always been there for him. While I kind of understand that maybe Jeremiah should have checked in with her, but that man was checked out because of what he had just encountered with her 4 days in. But here's what she said. She said she was crying hysterically and Taylor was the one confronting her. He was scared being around her, but he was there. Do I need to go further? Taylor was scared. And he wasn't even the one having to deal with Huda personally and her mess for days. So can we imagine what Jeremiah was feeling and how he was feeling and maybe why he didn't want to approach Huda because of everything that had went down? Let's just think about that for a moment. Now, she spoke a lot about Jeremiah. But here's the last thing I wanted to talk about in reference to Jeremiah. The host said to her, the internet was extremely upset when you called Jeremiah a Pussy as bitch. What made you use so much profanity? And here's why I said earlier I felt like the host at this point was just letting her dig her own grave. She said, at that point, I felt like he kept winning. It really upset me because it was like the stars were just aligning for him and everything was screwed up for me that whole time. He went on this date, he comes back happy while I'm in this villa and I'm miserable. Or do you know how many people call a man like that? And the host then says me. And I'm like, the hypocrisy. Because again, had it been a man calling her those types of names, the discussion would have been very different. And for the host to say, oh, we've seen men punching walls, you're trying to justify Huda's behavior instead of holding her accountable for what she did that was extremely wrong towards a man. Now let's talk about the other guy she was also intimate with. She said he didn't even put the whole thing in, and it's not like I couldn't take it. Go what? The way she dragged Chris, I was here for it because this clown went on the Vile Files defending her when we all know he was fed up with her. Many times in this interview, she referred to Jeremiah and Chris as brother, which we saw many times happening on the show, but not once did she refer to Nick as brother. Did y'all peep that? She didn't call Pepe brother, but only the colored guys. Y'all clock that. She said she never got to explore with Chris in Casa. The host asked her what was her understanding of how Chelly felt about Chris. And one thing about Huda, she never answers the questions directly. She always had to be asking the host to repeat herself or reiterate the questions. And I was just like, can you just listen? This is your issue. You do not listen at all. You're always listening to respond and not listen to understand. When she finally got to it though, she said she knew Chelly was interested in Chris, but she did bring back Chris for both of them. She said she and Chelly did have a conversation where she said, Chris likes us both and we both like him, so I'm bringing him back so both of us can explore. Huda also said that Chelly had her thinking that Chris wasn't interested in anyone else. It was abundantly clear that Chelly did not know that Chris was interested in Huda, and we definitely did see that Chris was more interested in Chelly, and the only time he started to change his focus to Huda was when Chelly stopped giving him attention. We saw him bringing her breakfast, giving her flowers, and even then, Huda, you started to complain to him as to why he's doing all of those things for Chelly and not for you. And when Chris himself realized that Chelly's connection with Ace was too strong, he backed out and he decided to focus on you. Now she's talking about the situation with Chelly and said that she would try to have a conversation with her. Like, can I talk to you about this? And she would dismiss her several times in the villa. Now, here's how I feel. Huda knows that Chelly is getting so much hate from her fans. I haven't seen her not once, besides with Orlandria, or when it came to Orlandria, say, I'm not hating on her, so there's no need to. That's all she said. She hasn't said that for Chelly, someone she called her sister. But you're putting out this narrative that Chelly really was a mean girl. And for me, that's just a low blow. Y'all can say she's telling her truth, but we saw Chelly tell Huda one time in the villa, let's talk about it tomorrow. And she went back and told Amaya she doesn't want to talk to me. So let's not do this, Huda. She also said that Chelly was dragging this thing and making it seem otherwise, and now everyone was ganging up on her. We also saw in another interview that she did, she said she felt like she was being bullied in the villa. That's a whole other conversation in itself. She said Chris would make remarks about other girls. This was in reference to the whole PDA thing. And he would have cute little names for other girls and say things in front of her. She specifically mentioned one time when she had this cute bathing suit on and she was feeling herself. And when she walked around, Chris did not even acknowledge her. Meanwhile, he was having a full conversation with Chelly. Y'all said Chelly was jealous of Huda. Clock that. They also talk about her counting to 3 and she was like, oh, he wasn't asleep, as if that made it better in her reaction or the way she was speaking to him. Chris said in his interview on the Vile Files that they had just a few hours to sleep and he was just trying to get some sleep. Meanwhile, Huda was trying to sleep with him. So goodbye. Whether or not the man was awake, he said he wanted to sleep. You should have left him alone. She thought it was cool or funny, saying, oh, if you want me to treat you like a child, then I'm going to. Was it correct? No, but you keep telling me you're going to fix things and you don't, so this is how I have to act. She said, brother, this is so irritating. Guess what? I'm trying my hardest to be on my best behavior. Those were her words, y'all. This is what she said. Can you imagine that? Can you believe this is the way she tries to justify her behavior? She also says that Chris wanted to be the victim and that's why he let her break up, and she was again trying her best. She applauds herself because she was so mature and she could have crashed out, she could have spazzed on him, but she didn't. They also asked her why she didn't stand up for Amaya in the Stand on Business challenge. She said she was trying to, but they kept talking over her, and if she yelled, they would tell her, be quiet. Huda, Huda, don't do that. She then insinuates that a few of the islanders have now been playing nice with her because they see, in so many words, she's saying how high her following has went and they're now being nice to her, and she's clocked that. Now, she was speaking about Chris in that time when she made mention of that, so I feel like she was kind of leading towards Chris, but when you make such a general statement, we also see her hanging out a lot with Olandria and Nick, and I just feel like, why are you saying that? Why are you trying to insinuate that they were around you because of the cloud that you're receiving? Again, I feel like this girl had an opportunity to say, let's not spread hate to her followers. She could have said to them, let's not do this, stand down. And not once did she take an opportunity to tell them, let's not spread hate. Let's not send death threats. Let's be nice. These are my friends. We're cool. But she never once did that. Guys, this interview was so exhausting to listen to, but I wanted to just touch base on a few things that I found to be interesting. So let's talk about it below. This has been my recap on the update that nobody asked for but needs. Tell me all of your thoughts. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I'll see you all in the next one. Bye.